Today's webinar is brought to you by ChiBizHub, a digital portal that connects small and medium-sized businesses with a network of service providers. For updated information on COVID-19 related loans, grants, and resources, we invite you to visit ChiBizHub.com/COVID-19 support. ChiBizHub webinars are designed to empower you, our small business community, with tips, advice, and best practices from subject matter experts and resource providers. Today, we are joined by the Little Village Chamber of Commerce to talk about going back to basics, how to better communicate and network. It is my pleasure to invite Kendra Thomas, Business Research Manager of ChiBizHub, to get today's conversation underway. Kendra, take it away.
So I would like to provide a little bit of background information about ChiBizHub for those of you that are not familiar with the platform. ChiBizHub is an initiative of World Business Chicago, and we actually launched last year in April. And ChiBizHub has been dedicated to providing resources to entrepreneurs and small business owners that are interested in starting, scaling, or accelerating their businesses. ChiBizHub is completely dedicated to helping the small business community grow. And we do this through our resource network. So currently, ChiBizHub has over 160 resource providers that are either nonprofit, governmental, educational, or micro lenders, that organizations that serve small and medium-sized businesses. So ChiBizHub is definitely committed to providing that community with resources to help their businesses thrive. As a part of this, in March, ChiBizHub launched our COVID-19 resources support page. You can follow that page at www.chibizhub.com/COVID-19 support. This is a place that you can regularly turn to for updated resources and information to help your business weather the storm during this time. So this page is frequently updated with valuable information on resources, programs, and more. Please remember to head to our website for more information. Also, please take the time to sign up for our ChiBizHub newsletter at www.chibizhub.com. And please follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we are also on Facebook. And you can definitely keep up with some of the information that our resource providers are hosting during this time. Now, I would like to turn over the webinar to my colleague, Ms. Jasmine Garcia, and she will take us through the agenda, and she will be moderating a conversation today with the Little Village Chamber.
Thank you, Kendra. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. On our agenda, we will be covering, to kick us off, will be Blanca Soto, the Executive Director of the Little Village Chamber. And following that, we will have Marisa Alcatar, the Executive Sales Manager. And then we will close off with Kim Close, Executive Partnerships Manager. After the discussion, we will have a brief Q&A, and we also, just to let you know, we do have the questions that you submitted before the start of the webinar, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then we also are monitoring the questions coming in. So to start us off is Blanca Soto.
Hello. Thank you, Kendra and Jasmine, for inviting the Little Village Chamber of Commerce today at the ChiBizHub webinar. My name is Blanca Soto. I represent the Little Village community as Executive Director of the Little Village 26th Street Area Chamber of Commerce. Our mission here at the Chamber is to support, promote, and enhance the growth and success of our local businesses. Little Village is often called the Mexico of the Midwest, or La Villita. You know, we have a very unique cultural identity here, and it's one of the densest communities in Chicago with nearly 16,500 people per square mile. Our business corridor is home to restaurants, specialty grocery stores, bakeries, boutiques, jewelry shops. We literally have a little bit of everything here. Also, our corridor is reportedly known to generate more revenue than any other corridor in the city next to Michigan Avenue, you know, and now with COVID-19 having a big impact on business shutdowns across Chicago, neighborhoods like Little Village are feeling it harder. This area here particularly is an area that has a large low-income population and a large population of undocumented residents that depend on local businesses and small and social organizations. I'm not sure if people are aware, but 33% of our businesses here in Little Village are related to, you know, the quinceañera special events, down to the boutique stores for the dresses, jewelry shops, limousine services, flower shops. You know, so a lot of these businesses, they found themselves closing their doors as they couldn't serve their clients for the reason that they weren't considered essential businesses. But at the same time, some of these businesses, we had a particular store called Novias Davila that she had to shut her doors, you know, as all her events got canceled, but she didn't want to let go of her employees. So they found a way where they started producing, making face masks with the fabric that they had at their store, since they didn't have to do quinceañera dresses anymore. So that was a way where, you know, a non-essential business kind of stepped up to help the community, you know, which is something that we stand by here a lot in Little Village, you know, La Villita Unida. It's like even during hard times, we find a way to help each other out. You know, we also have, you know, Little Village is known for all the, the cuisine that we have here, but them also, the restaurant part, their sales dropped drastically as well, as they had to shift via pickup and curbside pickups. You know, some restaurants had to let go of their employees. But at the same time, they're still being faced with challenges as far as technical support. You know, some of these businesses, they don't have that technical support where they can produce sales online. They can only do phone calls. You know, they don't have websites. So we also, you know, we saw that. One of the other things that we see too is a part of what we see in the Latino community, it's a lack of financial literacy, which leads to businesses not being ready to take advantage of programs and opportunities available. But this is where the Little Village Chamber of Commerce is key, because, you know, the Little Village Chamber of Commerce is 100% dedicated to guide small business owners to available resources and helpful information to help them not just survive during COVID-19, but also survive after the pandemic, because they're going to need help too once the pandemic is over, you know, to move to the next level. And so with that, you know, I would like to pass it on to Marisa to talk about the chamber solutions and stories. She's been working really closely with a lot of small business owners, so she probably has some stories to share.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having us here, Kendra and Jasmine. Well, yes, I can share. I do try to help as much as we can, but the challenges are pretty hard, I want to say, in regards to the technical support, and also our consultations were face-to-face, so that has changed a lot. A lot of the business owners, or some of the business owners, they're not really on top of their email. Now, based with this COVID-19, it changes everything. You know, instead of that face-to-face or just a phone call or come in and we'll help you out, it's trying to help them how to communicate, how to continue to be engaged with us, to try to then to help them and see what funds or what loans they might qualify. So it's really a struggle to keep that communication, and then finding resources that would most better fit their necessity at this time. And like Blanca said, you know, one of the difficulties is that financial literacy. Sometimes they have their businesses, but they're missing things. They don't have things in place, and that, you know, turns them down when it comes to qualifying for that loan. It's really hard. In our community, like I always say, you know, grants are the number one. But then yet there's some grants that require certain documentation as well to be granted. So it's been a little hard. There's other grants that are not in Spanish. They're not offered in their language, and it's like guiding them and a phone call to try to help them complete that application and submit it on time. Opening their email and attaching a document, sometimes that is a struggle for them. And it's like, okay, let's take a picture. Let's find a way where it's just easier and more simple, where you don't have to involve to scan and do a lot of other things, right? So I try to help them as much as I can. So anywhere from completing an application for a grant, giving them resources as what loan might fit more their business, giving them a referral to their bank if their bank's not capable of helping them with that, sending them or referring them to a bank that can speak their language and can help them and provide that service. So we're still up and running. We're still here to support and help any way, shape we can. And I always encourage everyone to continue to submit their applications that will help them in the process. Thank you.
Marissa, might you be able to share maybe one or two different stories where you have helped out specific, small business owners in Little Village?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have somebody that was very didn't have much hope. And I think it was because of all the documents that were requested. And she was like, no, I don't think I'm going to be able to qualify. Well, I was very excited to follow up with that phone call. I encouraged her to submit and apply for a grant. That was a list grant. And then also to apply for the PPP loan. She was very like, I don't think I'll qualify. I said, well, you can't say no until they tell you no, right? So we have to be positive. And I followed up, and she is so happy that she says, Marissa, I got my loan for the PPP. She said, I'm so excited that, am I supposed to actually use this money? I'm here like, yes. So she was very nervous. And I think when she got that money, she was like, oh my God, like she was so happy that she was then like sure that she can spend it and all those expenses that she has. And then she also applied for the grant, and she was granted with it. So she's very happy. So that was a very successful story where she had very little hope. And because I continued to push her and help encourage her to do it, she got it, and she's just thrilled about it. Then I have somebody else that has a salon, one employed person, and she submitted her loan. She was denied, and then she also applied for 2 of the grants, and she was not eligible for it. I don't know if it's a lottery, but the thing is, she has gotten no help, not through the PPP loan or the grant. So we have a little bit of everything. It's really difficult, not to be face to face and help them scan that documentation. But I do encourage them, and sometimes I think it's that, that little push, like, you can do it, you need to do it, don't think no until they tell you no, right? And even though you submit a grant and they deny the first one or you don't get it, doesn't mean you can't go for that second time and do it again, right? So that's reinforcing that to our community that it's a no for that time, but not for the second round or the third round. So those are our stories.
Thank you, Marissa. You actually highlighted something super important that, we have, other chambers tuning in right now too. And I think they're trying to figure out kind of strategies to use to better engage their community, right? And I think, earlier on a call, and I can open this up, to Kim and Blanca as well. But I think y'all shared, different methods and strategies unique to your community that you use to ensure that they were engaged, because you highlighted, not everybody's on email, and there's a digital divide that we have to consider specifically for our residents of Little Village, right? So if any of you can speak a little bit more to what kind of tools you use at your disposal in order to just kind of not let your small business owners just, kind of be forgotten, for, lack of a better statement.
I'll jump in here. So one, we definitely, keep a good pair of gym shoes at the office. We actually, in order to reach our business quarter, we do a lot of canvassing. Like Marissa said, there's business owners that don't even have email addresses. They have their phones, but they don't have an email address. So in order for us to reach everybody, making sure everyone's getting the resource and the assistance that's available, we have to canvas and literally hand deliver information out to our business owners. So it takes, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a good workout for us too, but that face-to-face interaction too with our business owners, it's really important. So we do a lot of canvassing, and we do a lot of social media outreach. We go, even the other day, Marissa thought about, like, you know what, there's this app called WhatsApp. Let's start using that to reach some of our business owners. So yes, it's a matter of expanding our ideas on how to reach our community. So yeah, those are part of some of the things that we do.
Might y'all be able to share any feedback that you've received from the small business owners in your community in terms of your outreach methods? Because you just highlighted yet another important thing that I think is important to emphasize, and it's the usage of WhatsApp, but social media. Social media is key right now. A lot of us, I think, when you think about, we host these webinars and we have folks tune in, and then I think they'll watch the recordings. But when you talk about like day in and day out, people are going on Facebook, especially the Latino community. That's how they get their information. And so have any small business owners shared with you and kind of like how they've benefited from the social media engagement that you have taken on?
Yeah, if I could just speak to that very briefly. So a couple things, like Little Village is unique in a lot of ways. One of the other challenges that we have in the community is high illiteracy rates. So when we do all of our posts in English and in Spanish, or we try to, a lot of the information coming out will be in English. The state, they're getting better about it, but a lot of it is just in English. So we do a lot of translation for those posts, but also we have an amazing social media person that we use, and he makes these like little 15-second videos about it, because actually like your engagement rate goes up exponentially if it's not like written, if it's not a stagnant like post, if it's some sort of video. So sometimes just bridging that gap, and making it more easily accessible for people who may not be fully literate in English or even in Spanish. And that's something like we just had to meet our market and our business owners and our followers where they're at, so that was one of the things that we tried to do.
Thank you. That's super helpful. I think on that note, we can go move on to Kim so she can share a little bit more about what she's been working on at the Chamber.
Yes, thank you, Jasmine, and Carolyn, and everybody. So we had actually had a big project in the works for since 2018, and I'm just going to talk about that briefly. So, the Little Village Chamber of Commerce does a lot of work with Latino and immigrant entrepreneurship. Any other chambers that are watching this now know that there is extensive data on Hispanic entrepreneurship and the really high rates of Latino entrepreneurship, and how there's a gap in services provided to them. So we've had a project in the works for a couple of years now called Esquina. It's a bilingual incubator that will be on the southwest side of the city. We are working to create wraparound services for all the businesses. So, one of the things we see in Little Village is a lot of restaurant entrepreneurship. So one of our partners, Javier Haro from Food Hero, he does technical assistance for restaurants and teaching them how to become profitable. A lot of immigrants will work in a restaurant for years and then be like, their dream of financial independence is owning their own restaurant. But it's not a dream if they sink all their money into it and don't actually know how to run the business of the restaurant. So that type of like industry specialization. And then we have our own programs. The chamber, we started a nonprofit called the Little Village Community Foundation. And so through that, we created Juntos Emprendemos, which is our entrepreneurship training program. And then we're launching it June 11th. It's Juntos Lanzamos. It's how to start a small business. And it's I think it's a 7-week course, and the idea behind the course is to help these businesses, like from the very beginning, get set up to become sustainable. You know, establishing banking relationships, meeting with a financial advisor. One of the things that we incorporated in this program that in general the Latino community lacks is access to social capital, which is mentorship. So we have a partnership with 1871, and we're creating further partnerships with some other incubators across the city to help our entrepreneurs to bridge that gap in their knowledge. You know, maybe they need access to information about social media marketing, but also a lot of the applicants to our current program are interested in creating retail space, you know, so how do we help them overcome, like, you know, move into a world where they could sell their goods online if like storefront retail space is not the future. You know, who knows what's going to unfold over the next 12 months. So another partnership. So the wraparound services that we're trying to provide are entrepreneurship training, but also in this restaurant industry specialization. So we actually got a grant with called the Businesses of Color Partnership Grant. In that grant, we're partnered with 1871, Food Hero, like I mentioned, 4-Star Branding. Our partner, Patty Aguilar, does, thank you so much, does culturally relevant bilingual marketing. It's sort of an underserved community in terms of visual assets. So that partnership has actually been really, really valuable. And Patty actually created a bilingual PSA, public service announcement, for like COVID about like masking, and because although the information was out, it wasn't always like in Spanish, it wasn't relevant, and it's been picked up. It's gotten a lot of traction. I think it's like para proteger, respetar. Oh, Blanca, you're gonna have to help me. Like, it's something like protect to respect, right?
Protege para respetar. Protect to
That's it.
respect. Wear your face mask.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying that she brings a lot of value, like kind of knowing and understanding the culture. And then we have a great partner in IHCC who is helping with procurement. A lot of that's capacity building and getting these businesses to not just be like month to month, but to create wealth and generate wealth. Procurement is helping businesses get access to those government contracts or even contracts like with big institutions like hospitals and stuff, or catering or landscaping or whatever, you know. So a lot of that procurement goes to big businesses. It doesn't necessarily go to small or medium-sized businesses. So we're definitely trying to get those Black and brown businesses that we serve access to those opportunities. So that's some of the work. We're hoping that Esquina, for those on the call who are not bilingual, it means corner. So we purchased a building. It's on a corner in Little Village on 26th Street, and it'll have a cafe. I just can't wait for us to be able to be out in public again, but it will have a coffee shop and a cafe and sort of a co-working shared space and a conference room and our programming and an incubator there on 26th Street, where we will incubate small businesses to put them out on the corridor and to provide services for all the Latino entrepreneurs that come through the city of Chicago. It's a huge portion of the entrepreneurial market that's out there, and we're just trying to meet that need. There's a huge demand, and we're trying to meet that need. So we're super optimistic. We're super excited about that. And yeah.
Thank you, Kim. That was incredible. Thank you for taking us through the run through and all the incredible work that you and the team is doing at the Little Village Chamber. I have to give kudos to the entire team, because I mean, you're a small but mighty team, and look at all the incredible work that you're doing. And, you know, going back to all of the other chambers that are tuning in right now, I think they could learn from y'all, right? And how they can still reach their small business owner, how the small business owner can still connect with their chamber and find resources during this time. You know, and technical resources at that, right? Because it's super important, going back to the point of a lot of grants not being in Spanish, being in English. And so, you know, that day in and day out, a lot of the work that y'all are doing is that technical assistance. That's super important to make sure that that goes through. So, you know, thank you for your service and for helping out our small business owners, and knowing that it really does take a village, right, to help each other out. I want to go ahead and make sure to remind everyone that's tuning in right now to send over any questions that you may have. We're monitoring the Q&A section. And in the meantime, while folks do that, we do have some questions that were submitted in advance of the webinar, and I want to go ahead and open it up for the ladies on the call. One of the questions being from one of our small business owners, you know, what should we do during this time to prepare when we are able to reopen?
I'll take this, Jasmine. So I would say that it's actually, we understand that reopening businesses, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You know, we need to be patient with gradually opening and monitoring cases at the same time. I think we need to make sure that all businesses adhere to all safety and precautions according to all city and state standards. I think for some businesses that are not open right now, but they're preparing, just make sure that they're following safety guidelines, you know, making sure they mark, you know, under store, under business floor, the lines for social distancing. I do see some businesses already putting in the clear plastics dividers. You know, we had a Little Village cleaner. He closed his doors. You know, he couldn't serve his clients. But then when he reopened last week, he actually installed the plastic dividers, and he put the marks on the floor to keep the social distancing. So it's a lot of preparing like that, not just for the safety of the customers, but also the safety of the workers, employees.
Thank you for that response. The next one is specifically to the chamber. How has the Little Village Chamber transitioned their networking events to virtual, if they have, or do you plan to? What does that look like?
We have. We've moved our, you know, our workshops. We just had a workshop last week, or one of our NOF workshops virtual. So yes, we have moved, you know, like Marissa said earlier, you know, we're so used to the face-to-face interactions, but we need to follow health and safety measures to minimize the spread of COVID-19. So we did start moving all of our workshops and our events virtually.
Great, thank you. I have someone here on the webinar, and they're a small business owner from the Hermosa neighborhood. They're wondering if they can connect with the programs that you have available as well, and if we also, I believe it's bus owners. I think that's part of the question. So specifically, maybe someone that has a small business with buses.
If they're looking for support to, as far as assistance on applying for these grants or that are available, yes, our phone number is 773-521-5387, or also feel free to send us an email at info@littlevillagechamber.org.
If I could add to that, like, follow us on Facebook, La Vita Chamber of Commerce. We post, I just made a list of every single post that we did in April, promoting access to capital, and it was like 25 posts. And of course that can be overwhelming for people, but you can also always like message us or send us or call us directly or email us. All the info's on our website as well, because sometimes a grant may not fit you. Actually, I will use this opportunity to promote a current grant that is out with an organization called Hello Alice. They are, it's a grant, so they recognize this need for more funding for all this. There's all this Hispanic entrepreneurship, but like only 3% of the funding that's out there is going into Latino small businesses. So they created this fund just for Latino small businesses. We just posted about it on our Facebook page, I think yesterday. But just to like underline this point, the grant, like so Pitbull is promoting it. Their grant, their Facebook page had no link to the Spanish application and no content in Spanish. We created Spanish content for a grant for Latino, but it's just, so this is like, sorry, I'm just going to shut up right there.
No, that was good. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for, throwing out a plug right there. One of the available opportunities for small business owners right now, because we have a couple of questions, same derivative, and they're curious to know, where they find out about available grants for small businesses, and what other webinars we're doing. And I'll go ahead and do a shameless plug right now on ChiBizHub. We have, starting next week, we will continue to do webinars, but they're going to be bi-weekly. I encourage you to please go to our COVID-19 resource page on ChiBizHub.com. That is updated multiple times a day, 7 days a week, with the top grants that are available. I believe the Little Village Chamber of Commerce also has a COVID-19 resource page on at their website. And similar to us, we post, anytime we hear about grants that, especially with the deadlines, it's on our Insta stories, on our Facebook stories, on Facebook, LinkedIn, everything, all the social media channels, you're able to find that. Let's see, moving on to one of our next questions, and it's from the small business owner. How would you all recommend, given that you work with such a large network of small business owners, that they continue to engage and get creative with their customers so they don't lose them because they can't see them in person?
Like we said earlier, Jasmine, social media is key right now. I think, and like how Kim said, a lot of people engage on these small videos. I think that's a good way to engage with your customers. Social media is key. We've seen, there's a particular business owner here in Little Village. It's called La Catedral Cafe. So he stays really active with his customers via social media. So I would suggest social media is key.
Yeah, I want to say too, like, this is a moment, we too, like within our work at the chamber, it's a moment for ideation. We have to like think outside the box. Like, we're going to try and start like a Spanish language podcast about entrepreneurship that's going to be coming forth. But just trying things and like seeing what sticks. We too have our own little hiccups and failures, and but we learn from each one of those. And I think small business owners are risk takers. to begin with. And sometimes that initial, like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there in some weird new way that I'm not comfortable with. Like, it's also, the pandemic is also an opportunity to try new things and see what's successful. And because I think we all have to reinvent ourselves after, like, during this time in one way or another, in our personal lives or professional lives. And so it's a challenge, but don't be afraid to try new things.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful. I also want to go back to the next question about other webinars that are planning. I know the Little Village Chamber is also doing a series of webinars with other individuals, and you can go to their social media to see the content for that. But I know ChiBizHub, for example, next week, I believe, or if not next week, we are going to continue to be doing webinars that are more specific to small business owners in terms of like getting all of their paperwork together to ensure that they qualify for these grants, what resources are available. ChiBizHub will be hosting Insta Live, so we take people through what is on ChiBizHub and how to navigate it. So there's a lot of resources. We're also working behind the scenes on creating Spanish webinars for our community, because going back to the rest of the team's point, a lot of this information related to COVID-19 and how to sustain your business is just not in Spanish. And so it's really important that we do that. And so ChiBizHub, has taken that on to ensure that we can create that content for you, similar to the Little Village Chamber. With that, I believe that's all the time we have. I don't see any more questions here. And I just want to thank the Little Village Chamber for their time and helping us out today, and engaging and sharing everything that you've done with your chamber and how other chambers can engage their small business owners.
Thanks.
Thank you. I believe I'm waiting on for.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us today. This webinar and others are archived at ChiBizHub.com/COVID-19 support. We look forward to having you join us at the next opportunity.